Let us get to our studio down at Sonic Studios and begin our set with Fish. Well, here's your happy announcer.
These guys have had a pretty good millennium so far. They started it off playing the first 7 hours of it in front of 75,000 people in the middle of the Everglades. Anybody here there? I figured that would be true. And then they went back and finished up, which just truly wonderful record, Farmhouse, which we're going to get to hear some music from today. Will you please help me welcome to the World Cafe, Fish?
I'd like to live beneath the dirt, a tiny space to move and breathe is all that I would ever need. I wanna live beneath the dirt, where I'd be free from push and shove, like all those swarming up above. Beneath their heels I'll spend my time. I'll wriggle in the earth and dew. And sometimes I will think of you. And if you ever think of me, kneel down and kiss the earth and show me what this thought is worth.
Fish live today on the World Cafe with a couple from Farmhouse, the new album, Dirt and the First Tube. I love the instrumentals, both of them. First Tube is a great tune. Now, these people in the audience, you know, the ones who went to Cyprus and all that, they know these songs, some of these songs already? You've been playing these live for a long time. See, that's what I thought. Every question I ask, these people are going to know the answers to.
We won't say anything.
Couple of things you notice right off the bat about Farmhouse that are a little bit different. One of them, of course, is where it was recorded. Did you guys all work together in designing the new studio? Or was it mostly your...
It was mostly my project. It's something that's been going... This is Trey talking. Something that's been going on for about 4 years. We've been doing these big outdoor shows at the end of every summer. And then the New Year's show, which were concerts that we designed from the ground up. And the idea was to do the same basic concept with an album. So we weren't stuck within the framework of a traditional recording studio. You know, everything about it planned.
Including the outhouse?
Our own way, including the outhouse.
What are some of the less obvious things that are advantages of recording at home? I mean, the obvious things, you get to sleep in your own bed.
That is the obvious.
It's also the second most important reason.
Well, let me play devil's advocate. Sometimes a little pressure, like time pressure of being in another studio is good. It kind of, makes you make a decision more quickly and that kind of thing. Yeah. Did you have any of that kind of pressure at all, or did you just let it?
We have pressure because, we have tours booked and so we
Life planned.
We have to go out and play.
Now, half of it was recorded before the Millennium concert, and then did you guys always plan to go back and record more after that?
Not necessarily. There wasn't a lot of planning at all. There was a little bit of talk after we did these basic tracks up at the barn. And everybody really liked the tape of the basic tracks. And then we were thinking about putting that out, and then we went and did the New Year's show, and I think it was a little kick in the butt. Just that whole experience was so cool. It kind of sent us back into the barn, and we redid everything at that point.
Another thing that's kind of different on this one is that Trey's the producer, you kind of gave up the idea of consensus a little bit to have you be the producer.
Yeah.
Was that difficult to give up the idea that y'all had to...
Two things about that. One is that I didn't set out to be the producer. It just happened that way. The second was that at the time, Mike has been working on a movie. Mike, who is kind of the second most prolific songwriter,
right,
has been working on a movie for the last 4 years or so. And so he didn't really have any new songs at the time. You can speak right up there. That's true. So it just kind of went that way. I think everybody felt pretty good about the way things unfolded. I had some ideas about this album, and people were really encouraging me to. Really, there was tons of encouragement from
now.
you guys.
Some of these songs were going to be on a solo album, and
they were never going to be on a solo album. That's a myth. I did a solo tour with Russ Lawton and Tony Markellis. I did that tour as a way to get myself to write some new songs for Fish. I mean, the tour was completely geared around helping Fish.
Okay.
So I did a solo set at the beginning, and Back on the Train was one of the songs I wrote for that.
Can you do that one, or what do you guys
Sure.
plan to do? Okay.
That'd be great.
Okay. More from Fish, live on the cafe.
When I jumped off, I had a bucket full of thoughts. When I first jumped off, I held that bucket in my hand. Ideas that would take me all around the world. I stood and watched the smoke behind the mountain curl. It took me a long time to get back on the train. Now I'm gone and I'll never look back again. I'm gone and I'll never look back at all. You know I'll never look back again. I turn my face into the howling wind.
Back on the train, more coming up as we are in the midst of our live performance from Phish here today on the World Cafe.
Fish playing a lovely set for us today at the World Cafe. All tunes from Farmhouse, the new album. Let's talk about movies just for a bit. The Bittersweet Motel, when is that coming out? What's the deal on
I
that?
think it's coming out in August.
In August?
Yes.
So you've seen it.
We've seen it.
And? You like it?
Thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. And Mike, you had your film at the film portion of South by Southwest and did really well, I understand. What are your plans for that?
To release it somehow. I'm not
But-
really sure how yet.
But in theaters or you don't know?
Either theaters or probably a couple theaters, and then a lot of videotapes, something like that.
And it got a really good reaction. You can take it to other
It
film
got an
festivals?
audience award. Yeah.
Oh, that's-
There's a couple left that we're entering. Yeah.
Cool.
Outside Out. It's called.
I want to talk a little bit about improvisation, and it is because what you guys do depends on sort of having a good night together, you know. And I'm wondering there's so many different elements that can come into having a good night. What have you thought about what's the most important things you do before a show or about a show that makes it a good one?
I think it changes, even just in the space of this today, playing in this room. We started playing this morning when we arrived, and since then, you know, I feel like we're playing very differently than we were an hour ago. Just from the different people that have walked into the room, conversations you've had, the vibe of the people that are listening, the time of day. So, you know, ideally, you're just living in the moment.
Do you try to control things before a show, before you guys play?
Less and less.
Yeah.
We try to control nothing now.
Right. Well, it's interesting because you talked about how you controlled the concert situation, and you definitely built those things from the ground up,
Yeah.
and that's what was so
Yeah.
cool about them. Built your studio. You guys have never, and I don't mean this as any kind of slight, you've never really had like a hit record, you know, and something that's on all the radios all over the world and all that kind of thing. Is that something that's important to you or not? Because I feel this is like this is a real accessible record. Without, I think it would have ever offend any Fish fan, but it's a little bit more accessible. Is that on purpose?
Not necessarily on purpose. If we had a song that we were proud of and the intent behind it was just to make good music and they played it on the radio, we'd be thrilled. There's no question about that. You know, I grew up listening to the radio, and I have nothing against the radio per se. But I wouldn't want to go out of my way to create something that was... I don't feel like we've done that, so it's not a problem. But I do want to go back to something you just said about
sure.
creating the space that you play in and
Right.
putting those concerts on. What I think was important to us is create a space where you could safely go and completely let go, including the audience, and people can stay up all night and camp out and go utterly nuts, and in a safe environment where nothing out of control is going to happen. That was the whole idea behind the New Year's thing, where we played all night long. You know, we thought about people were camping on grass instead of pavement and that kind of thing. So. I suppose you could say the same thing about the album. We wanted to just create a space where we could be ourselves and see what came out of that.
Cool. What do you want to do to finish up?
Mama sing, sing what you got to do. Mama sing,
From Farmhouse, Got a Jaboo, which everybody shall be chanting. And the other question everybody shall be asking is about those cluster flies. You know, everybody's going to want to know about those cluster flies, including me. Tell me about those cluster flies.
No, they're flies.
That cluster. All right, I knew, okay. It has something to do with the outhouse, I was sure. Anyway, thank you guys so much for the set today. A lot of thanks to our audience, thanks to all the folks at Sonic, thanks to Fish. Be back in a moment here on the World Cafe.
And our thanks once again to Fish, to our great audience, and all the folks at Sonic Studios who made us feel welcome for our first visit there for a session for the World Cafe. Also to everybody at Elektra Records and to Fish's management who made it easy to work this one out. We when we heard Got a Jaboo just then, but also the in-law Josie Wales, the one that on the album Bela Fleck helps out on. Also we heard Piper, Back on the Train, Dirt, and First Tube, our set today from Fish, their first time playing live here on the World Cafe. Support for the World Cafe comes from Ryko Palm, whose current releases include Cubanismo's Reencarnacion and the latest from Bruce Coburn, Breakfast in New Orleans, Dinner in Timbuktu. Both titles are available at Borders Books and Music and at Borders.com. Additional support for the World Cafe is provided in part by the members of the over 100 World Cafe affiliates, including KSBA in Coos Bay, Oregon, and KVNF in Paonia, Colorado. Shows produced at WXBN from the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. Don't forget that you can hear the World Cafe live on the web. Tell your friends to head to worldcafe.org for details. That's where you can also find out about purchasing the only 2 volumes of Live at the World Cafe that are in print right now, volumes 8 and 9, also at worldcafe.org. I'm David Dye. Thanks a lot for being there. This is the World Cafe.
PRI, Public Radio International.